Good morning, everyone. I'm Morgan Donner, and today I've got a special project in mind. I'm going to be filming a little bit later with a special guest, and I need to go ahead and get dressed for it. I figured this would be a great opportunity to do a sort of medieval get ready with me. So first up, my hair needs to be split down the middle. This lovely modern side part isn't going to work, so let's go ahead and split that. Now that my hair is split down the middle, I want to go ahead and put it up into a pair of braids. There's two different ways that you can do that. Which one works better for you depends a little bit on perhaps your hair thickness and length. So if your hair is only, let's say, this long, there's a good chance you're going to need to start your braid way up here, and then once it's kind of like this, let me do a really quick and dirty version of it here. If you pretend that this beautiful rolled mass is a braid instead of a roll, starting it up here allows you to have a shorter bit, and then you can kind of like try and tuck it up here. Your ear's probably going to show a little bit more, but that's one way that you can go about doing it if your hair is a lot shorter, or even if it's a little bit on the thinner side, because that way you have some really good thickness right here next to your face, which can be kind of pretty. My hair is long enough that I'm going to go ahead and just start the braid down here and bring my braid up. So let's go ahead and get that done. I have some wonderful modern elastic hair ties that I'm going to use today. I've seen a couple different examples of what people think they might have done in period in, pre 1413 so on hundreds, pre-elastic era. And there's some that involve putting essentially a really heavy hair gel into the ends of your hair to keep them from unbraiding. I've seen ones that involve using thread to essentially kind of tie off and weave into the ends of your hair, which works pretty good. I've seen kind of clever use of pins. Now, what you tend to see really obviously in a lot of portraiture is ribbons. So now that I've got my cute little braids, I can put them up on my head, like so. Usually, I'll try and kind of visually make sure that my braids are nice and even and lying nice and flat against my head and not like tucked up in some weird way. So this feels good. I'll check the mirror in a minute. I've got these beautiful U-shaped pins. It's fairly well attached now with my 3 U pins. Let's go ahead and do the other side. So this one didn't quite work because I can feel that it's trying to slide down. So let's redo that one. Hopefully I'm hanging relatively even. I've got my braids in place, and normally I would put a type of cap over this. It's just a white simple cap that has strings so that you can tie it tight, and it will cover the kind of back of your head and help keep these in place a little bit. I can't find mine right now, so we're gonna go with the cheater version, which is just to take essentially a white bandana sized cloth, and we're going to tie that in place of that cap. So it's not complicated. Now normally you would not want this to be your situation because it doesn't look great, but that's what we've got today, so we're just going to kind of deal. Fortunately, I was already planning on putting a cap over this, so we're going to go ahead and do that. But first, let's get the rest of the dress on, because if I try putting on the cap and then the rest of the dress, that's not going to work. So let's move on. Here we go. And this is what some people would refer to as a coterie. Some might call it a gown, some would call it a dress, some might call it a kirtle. You could call it a lot of things. For right now, I'm going to go with just stick with modern terms. It's a dress. So this is a long sleeve dress made with a brocade and lined in linen. Look at my beautifully covered seams. So let's go ahead and get this slipped on. I've got it loosely laced for now, but it needs to be tightly laced on me. I finally got somewhere. Oh goodness. What's going on here? Why is this all weird? Oh. Okay. And that was my exercise for the day. We've got to go ahead and get this fixed. I have a lot of my undershirt or chemise or shift or whatever you want to call it showing right now, and that's not sexy. So we're going to go ahead and kind of zhuzh that to the side here because that's kind of like the perfect amount of chemise showing. Not sure how much you can see of this down here. Now that I've got it on me, we're going to go ahead and get this laced up here. I've got to undo the lace from the bottom, so I've got to start over going from bottom to top. So I'm all unlaced, which this lace is quite long. Let's see, probably about 3 yards. So this is a good long bit of lace, and at the end I have this little metal piece, which you can maybe see on camera, called an aglet. That lets me lace it through my holes really easily. Very similar to what's at the end of your shoelace, also called an aglet. So starting from the bottom, let me get this all laced up. Lacing up isn't the most exciting thing in the world. Okay, I'm starting to run out of room on my lacing, which means that now it's time to start tightening up a little bit of our excess down here, which gives me enough slack to keep going. We're just about done. This is the part where you really hope that you've laced everything up correctly so far, because if you get to the very end and realize that you've got one more hole than you were expecting to have, and the top of your dress looks like this, it means you've got a whole lot of unlacing and relacing to do. This dress essentially acts a lot like a bra. It does all of your bust holding for you. Whew, I'm all laced in place now. I'm going to fix the end of my tie here with a slip knot, which will keep it from becoming looser throughout the day, and it's very easy to untie again once we're done. All the excess laces just kind of go in there. I'm sure it's very attractive to see me constantly like looking down like this throughout my video. Trying to get your undershirt looking nice and even and attractive is a lot easier whenever you have a sister or a servant, if you're wealthy, or a husband to help you out. Right now, all of those darn people are at work. I'm just here by myself getting shit done. So my pretty little dress here has buttons on the sleeves. I only ever need to undo the last 3 or 4 in order to get my wrist back out. But now I'm gonna re-button them up so that I've got a pretty tight little sleeve. Let me give you a quick little roundabout tour here so you can get an idea of what the whole dress looks like before I put the overdress on. Next up, I've got my sockses. These should be woven, but I don't know where my woven ones are, so we're going with modern knit socks. If I did have the woven style of socks today, I would also be tying around a garter just under my knee to help keep the sock up, since obviously they wouldn't have had elastic in the top of their sock. And last on that bottom half here are these shoes. I got them at a medieval event several years ago. They've lasted me really well despite wearing them several weekends on old cobbled crappy roads. Don't mind my dignified buckling here. There we go. We are all nicely shod, and now it's time for the overdress. So here's my cute little short overdress, which I actually did a whole blog post about, mostly describing how it's not period correct, but I'm gonna wear it anyway today. If you want to check out more about that post where I talk about this specific dress and the dress underneath it and explain why it's not period, go ahead and check out morgandonner.com. The main gist of the argument is anytime you see a short dress like this on period pretty ladies, it seems like they're mostly people who are representing concepts or ideals. Like you might see someone who's supposed to be representing justice in a story wearing like Amazonian armor and a short overdress on top of her underdress. So you don't really see any portraiture of actual women who are meant to represent Queen blah 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 the third wearing one of these shortened overgowns. 5 billion buttons later, there we go, all buttoned up. And now I'm down to one of my last few pieces for today. This is my hood. It's got a beautiful long leer pipe. This is purely a decorative little hood. It keeps your head a little bit warmer, and as I mentioned earlier, it's going to cover my incorrect choice of head covering here. There we go, and we're all done. I like to leave my leer pipe down most of the time, but if it's a really windy day, this can be handy to wrap around and tuck in. Or if you just want it out of the way, maybe you're in the kitchen cooking and you don't want leer pipe in somebody's soup, we're gonna go ahead and get that out of the way. I hope you enjoyed watching my medieval get ready with me. Join me next time for a special project, which is the reason I'm getting dressed today, and I'll see you next time.